So men really, more than most people, support the abuse of men. Hi, I'm Ramat, and today I'm going to be talking about how men face harassment too. And I'll be focusing on sexual harassment for men, and I hope that you will stay to the end of this episode so that we can talk about the points that I have raised and I can hear your opinion. So let's get into it. So I'll start by saying that a lot of people do not talk about the fact that men are harassed sexually too. That men can be harassed in multiple ways and that they face the trauma that comes as a result of sexual harassment, abuse, or violence. So I'm going to look at some sort of violence and abuse and harassment that men face and talk about them a little bit and see what men can do if they face any form of sexual harassment. Okay, so a while back, I saw this video where these women, I think they were exotic dancers, really beautiful looking women, big bootied, unclad or mostly unclad. And they were just beautiful. They looked happy. They looked like they were having fun. And they were in this elevator dancing, twerking and all of that. And they came out, the elevator door opened and they came out of the elevator and there was this man in the lobby. And next thing you know, they surround him and they are twerking on him and they are dancing. And everyone is like, oh my God, this guy got the best day of his life. And I said, no, he didn't. He was just sexually harassed. Because if we had flipped it, if I was in the lobby and a group of guys, Magic Mike looking guys, sexy AF, yes, come out of an elevator and they start rubbing their bodies on me, I would be alarmed. As much as, they're beautiful to look at, I would be alarmed because I would wonder about my safety. But in this video, you could tell the man was embarrassed. He could have been anybody, but he was embarrassed. He was trying to keep his hands to himself. He was trying to laugh to escape them. But every time he tried to, wiggle his way out, somebody would put her booty in front of him and she's shaking and she's twerking. And it was completely wrong. There was absolutely no reason why somebody should be doing that or a group of women should be doing that to this man. Another example is Ruga, the artist from Nigeria who is, has this melodious voice and has amazing music. So Ruga is loved by a lot of people and he sings a lot of sexually explicit songs. He's always singing about, women, giving them pleasure, having fun and things like that. And then he's this kind of person who tries to appeal more to his female audience. He's dancing sexily and things like that. And he goes to perform at this concert of, I don't know whether it was his concert or he was an add-on at the concert, but he was there performing. And this girl from the crowd reaches up, grabs his penis right in front of everybody and rubs it. And you could tell he felt really violated because he stopped mid-performance. He had this shocked expression on his face and he was obviously unhappy. And people said, no, this was good. Oh my God, he got the best day of his life. No, he didn't. Just like a lot of feminists, we came out and were like, this lady was wrong. This was sexual harassment. This was wrong. Again, and I don't need to have to flip this, but we need to talk about it because it needs to bring context, right? So if we flip it and we had maybe Tiwa Savage on stage, and somebody grabbed her breast, we would have held placards, we would have been shouting, we would have been angry. And so we called it out for what it was, sexual harassment. Another thing that we have seen is that, in the gay community, for example, people who are supposedly effeminate, I hate that word. I hate it so much, but I'm using this because I have to explain what I'm talking about. When people think that, men are effeminate, you see other men rape these men and say, that they are trying to make them more masculine. And I'm like, okay, you say you hate gay people or you hate effeminate people and you are trying to rape them. Like, make it make sense to me. So these three examples that I have given are for grown adult men. In one instance, we had somebody just minding his business. Could have been a regular person. He could have held any moral or whatever. We couldn't tell from that video. But we had a couple of women come out of an elevator and sexually harass him. On the flip side, we had a very sexually outgoing person, somebody who was excited, to talk about his sexuality and put his sexuality out there. And then some woman grabs his penis on camera and everything. And even when she was called out, she goes and says, oh no, she didn't do anything wrong. That's the second situation. And the third situation is someone who is your, what people would not define as a masculine man, and then they decide that, okay, in order to make you more masculine, because toxic masculinity must prevail, that they have to be raped and abused, right? So this is really terrible. These are different forms of sexual abuse against men, but there is one that is even worse, and it starts much younger, not to grown adult men, to children, boys, by, for example, their nannies, or their relatives, or people who live in their homes, or friends, or people in the community. The word I'm looking for is pedophiles, who abuse children because they can, or because they think that they can, or they think they can get away with it, or they think that, oh, nobody wants to talk about it, because in African societies especially, there is that thing where, oh, don't say this thing is shameful to the family. So they allow abuse to persist because they are more interested in the reputation than they are in protecting children. Now, we have talked over and over and over again about how girls get abused, and we have put in a lot of mechanisms so that women can come up, whether it's 20 years later, whether it's 50 years later, and say, you know what, I was abused. And we validate all of these women. We believe women who have been abused. We put support systems for women, but we haven't done the same for men. And it's, to be honest, it's not on women to do this, because women have put the support systems for women. Because we know what we have been through, we've done it for each other. And in this case, when men come out, again, some of their biggest supporters are these women who are working to fight all forms of sexual and gender-based violence. But why does it persist a lot in our society? Why is the abuse or the harassment or sexual violence against men so persistent in our societies? I can assure you that one of the first reasons is because people do not consider that men can be abused. Yes, they do not consider it. So one of the first things you will hear is that, oh, no, abuse, no, men cannot be abused. Men are supposed to be more powerful. Men are supposed to be stronger, so they cannot be abused. And then we have a couple of people, and in this case, men, who would actively tell you, oh, he enjoyed it. When men say, oh, maybe an 11-year or 7-year-old say, oh, the housemaid or my auntie or my uncle or my father or my neighbor abused me, they'll say, didn't you enjoy it? Especially if it's of the opposite sex. Didn't you enjoy it? I mean, you're like, look at you, you're a child, you're bringing down this big girl. No. Anybody above the age of 18 who is abused by someone who is in a position of power, it doesn't matter whether it's their father, their uncle, their auntie, their mother, anybody below the age of 18 who is sexually abused by someone older who should be protecting them is just that, sexually abused. We cannot say that they are not abused, that they enjoyed it. Enjoyed what? Were you there? Are you their body? Do you know what effect they felt as a result of being sexually abused? Of having their privacy and their boundaries disrespected? Of being exposed too early to sexual acts when they probably didn't even understand what they were doing? Were you there? Another reason I'm so angry about this is how easily men would, like, literally, when the first video I gave as an example, when that video came out and I was calling it out, feminists were calling it out, other women were calling it out, some women were like, oh my God, he had the best time of his life. Do you know who was praising that video more? Men. They kept saying, oh my God, I wish I had this number 6 asses in front of me, 6 booties in front of me, shaking and twerking. No. That was harassment to that man. You know, when Ruger's video came out, when that video of Ruger came out and that girl was holding his penis, somebody was like, oh my God, I'm sure he was transported to heaven. No. So when you now, the one that a lot of men excuse so much, and it doesn't make any sense to me, is when they hear that gay men or trans men or, you know, the supposed effeminate men are sexually abused by other men. And there's no outrage. There's no, why are you doing this? There is no, why are you hurting this person? Why are you sexually abusing them? Why are you raping them? No. They're like, oh, they deserve that because they do not fit into society's definition of what a man should be. So men really, more than most people, support the abuse of men. You see, women, we talk about it. We may be a voice that seems like we're on repeat. We may be tiring. Some people call us feminazi. Some people call us all kinds of names. But once a woman is abused, trust yourself that a feminist will stand up and say, no, this is wrong. But when a man is abused, and somebody who understands humanity, equality, or understands the importance of calling out abuse for what it is, a man now says, you know, this is wrong. You will see people camp in his socials, in his comments and say, oh, you're simping. I hate that word. And they're like, oh, you're simping, you're this, you're that. And then, you know, the guy enjoyed it. He enjoyed what? It is really nasty. And I know it feels like my temperature is going up. So I'm going to take a few seconds, breathe a bit, yeah? Now that I feel slightly calmer, yeah, so what are some things that men who have been abused face? Like women who have been abused, they can have, you know, their self-worth plummeting to the ground, right? And they're like, oh, I'm giving myself away, I'm letting myself go. Some of them have anxiety, some of them have depression, some of them begin to avoid people, they begin to, you know, stay by themselves, and some of them question their sexuality, especially if it's someone of the same sex who abused them. They begin to question their sexuality and things like that. And in cases where some people are abused, right, maybe like a forceful abuse, which rape is, some people question whether they are man enough, that they couldn't protect themselves. They couldn't save themselves from the trouble that was somebody taking away their boundary, their, you know, going into their space, violating their space. Like women, they face all of these things. Some of them have physical consequences for this, physical trauma as a result of this. And we have done episodes after episodes after episodes about what rape does to the body, right? The physical effects of rape, the mental effects of rape, and you can find them all on the channel. So these things are things that also happen to men. And we need to talk about it. But more than that, I'm a woman, and to be honest, I care more, or I'm more biased to issues that affect women, children, people with disability. And so I will talk about that more. But we need more men in this space talking about men going through abuse. We do. This brings me to how we can support men who are, or maybe I should start by talking about men who have been abused, what they need to do. One of the first things they need to do is to talk to somebody as much as you can. We partnered recently with the Idima Initiative, the Idima Health Initiative. And, you know, they have this mental health number. It's a code that you can dial, especially if you're in Abuja, and you can talk to a lay counselor about these things. That code is 112. You can call that number and say, you know what, I want to talk to somebody about what has happened. And what can we do to support men who have been abused? One is we really need to listen. When someone says they have been abused, we need to listen and not try to ride on them and try to play it off to be something. No, we need to listen, and we need to validate the feelings of anyone who has come out, especially if it's a man coming out to say, look, I have been abused. We need to validate their feelings. We do not need to tell them, oh, you'll get over it. Oh my God, you enjoyed it. Oh my God, you must have been having the time of your life. No, we need to tell them, I see you, and I see that you have been abused. And then we need to also tell them that we are there for them. If someone walks up to me today and tells me, "Hi, Ramat, I'm your friend," or "I'm this stranger that I know, that you know, and I want to tell you that I've been sexually abused," I will not be asking, "Oh, tell me the details. Oh my God, what happened?" Da, da, da. My first instinct will be, "I'm sorry that this has happened to you." Whether it's a man, or it's a woman, or it's a child. And I will tell them that they didn't deserve to be abused, that nothing they did was enough for them to be abused, and that whoever abused them is such a, I will add all of the curse words to curse that person out, but they have all of the responsibility in abusing them. And then I will tell them I am here for them. Like, I want them to know that, look, I may not be able to help you all the way, but I see you and I'm here for you, right? And as much as possible, we can direct these men to places where they can get resources to help them. There are so many organizations. Yes, a lot of them are working on women's sexual abuse, but they can also provide services for men who have been abused. The Dorothy Njomaze Foundation is doing an amazing job. There are so many places where we have people doing amazing work, trying to protect women, children, and in many cases, men too, because we know that men get harassed too. So it's our collective duty to try to listen to people who come out and say, "Look, I have been abused." And by God, it is not our place, and it's not even the sensible thing to do. Yes, I said it. It's not the sensible thing to do to tell someone who has been abused that, "Oh, you enjoyed it." Oh my God, that is the most insensitive thing you can say to someone. We need to become more empathic, and we need to treat people with the respect that they deserve, and to know that trauma is lasting, and your dismissal of their trauma can even make it so much worse. So yes, this is basically a public service announcement to remind us that men can get abused too, but also to ask men, if you were abused, talk to someone at your time, when you're ready, when you feel that you can talk about it. Now, there's no pressure to talk, but the culture of silence has helped abuse to continue to stay, which is why I always say at your time and when you're ready. And I think it's very important for us to have this interaction, this empathy, where we know that, men are abused and we're there for them. And not just being there because it's a nice, fancy thing to say, but actually being there for them. And we need more men to understand that abuse to people of your sex is real, and stop dismissing it. We need more men to be speaking up for men's health, men's mental health, men's entire being. Because I would spend most of my time talking about women. I would spend most of my time talking about children, talking about people with disability. So would many feminists. So men, you need to have each other's back. And honest to God, if you have been abused as a man, I think you should actually seek therapy. Call, like I mentioned earlier, on call 112, especially if you're in Nigeria, in Abuja. Find any, helpline that is in your country, in your neighborhood. Talk to somebody. I assure you, there's so many people who are non-judgmental, and they're just there willing to help you. I especially want to thank Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, which is working really hard to ensure that sexual abuse is documented. We can see various kinds of sexual abuse for men, for women, for children, for people with disability, for people in the LGBTQIA+ community, and things like that. They're doing an awesome job, and you can get a lot of resources on their website about sexual abuse. I especially want to thank them because I really read and delved into their website to prepare for this episode. And I think that we can talk about this. So please go to the comment section. Tell us what you think about men getting sexually harassed. Let's talk about what some of the things we can do. What are the things that we can do to protect men, boys especially? How we can ensure that society changes its attitude towards men's sexual abuse. And, tell me what you think about generally ensuring that we have better societies where abuse doesn't even happen. I'd like to hear your comments. I'd like to read your comments, and I'd like to engage with you further. Please stay to the end of this video to see all of the social media and digital media platforms that you can find our content and interact with us. It's been a bittersweet episode because this is heavy, but I've been happy talking to you. Thank you very much for giving me your time, and it's hugs and kisses from Ramat. Bye.